Every high intelligence person I've studied does one thing differently. And it's not what most people think intelligence looks like at all. It's actually something they completely stop doing. And once you notice it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Most people think smart people talk more, correct others quickly, and prove their point with confidence in every situation. But here's what's worse. That behavior doesn't signal intelligence. It quietly signals insecurity to people who are actually paying attention. And this is where it gets interesting, because the smartest person in the room is usually the one you almost ignore at first. Picture this clearly. You're sitting in a group conversation where someone says something slightly wrong or incomplete. Before the sentence even finishes, someone jumps in to correct them, adding facts and showing how much they know in detail. They sound sharp, fast, and impressive on the surface, and most people assume that's what intelligence looks like. But here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. They just made themselves predictable and easy to read. The smartest people in that same room notice the mistake instantly, but they don't react the way you expect them to. They pause, they observe the reaction of others, and they think about what matters more than just being right in that moment. And this is the part almost nobody notices. They are not trying to win the conversation. They are trying to understand the entire room. Average thinkers treat conversations like competitions where being right gives them a temporary sense of superiority over others. High-level thinkers treat conversations like information systems where every word reveals something deeper than the surface meaning. They listen to tone, timing, confidence, hesitation, and intention instead of just reacting to the words being spoken. But here's what's worse. When you constantly try to prove you're right, your brain shifts from curiosity to defense mode. Back to that same room, the person who keeps correcting others slowly starts losing influence. Without even realizing it, people begin to speak less around them because nobody enjoys being interrupted or subtly made to feel wrong repeatedly. And this is where it gets dangerous. Intelligence without social awareness creates distance instead of respect over time. Meanwhile, the quiet observer is still listening, not because they don't know, but because they are choosing control over impulse. They are tracking patterns, noticing gaps, and waiting for the moment where their input actually changes something meaningful. And this is where it gets interesting. When they finally speak, the room pays attention without them forcing it. Almost nobody notices this shift. The less someone needs to prove they're smart, the more others assume they are. Because confidence at a high level doesn't rush. It selects moments carefully and delivers impact instead of noise. But here's what's worse. Most people never reach this level because they are addicted to immediate validation. Think about your own behavior for a second. How often do you jump in just to show you know something others don't? Not because it helps the conversation, but because it helps your identity feel stronger in that moment. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. That small habit slowly trains your brain to value being seen over being accurate. Back to the observer again. When they speak, they don't correct directly. They ask a question that shifts perspective. A simple question that exposes a deeper layer of the conversation without making anyone feel attacked or diminished. And suddenly the entire room starts thinking differently, because the direction just changed without resistance. This is the part that changes everything. Influence comes from clarity, not from correction. The smartest people don't try to look intelligent in front of others. They focus on seeing situations more clearly than others. Looking intelligent is loud, reactive, and constant, while seeing clearly is quiet, patient, and extremely precise. And this is where it gets deeper. Clarity gives you leverage that raw knowledge alone never can. But here's what's worse. Once you get used to proving yourself constantly, it becomes your default identity. You start interrupting faster, reacting quicker, and listening less without even noticing the pattern forming. And over time, this reduces your ability to actually learn from people who might know something you don't. Almost nobody admits this. The moment you feel the need to be right in every situation, you limit your own intelligence. Because real intelligence grows in uncertainty, in questioning, and in allowing space for better ideas to emerge. And this is where it gets powerful. When you stop defending your knowledge, you start expanding it rapidly. Now think about this clearly. Who actually holds more power in a conversation long term? The person who speaks the most and corrects everything, or the one who speaks less but shifts the direction entirely? One creates noise, the other creates impact, and people always remember impact over noise. This is the hidden rule most people miss. People don't respect you for how often you're right. They respect you for how you make them think. And if your presence makes others feel small, they disconnect from you no matter how intelligent you actually are. But if your presence makes them see things differently, they naturally see you as someone worth listening to. And this is where everything flips. When you stop trying to prove you're right, your words start carrying more weight. When you stop interrupting, people give you space without you asking for it directly. When you listen deeply, you start noticing patterns others completely miss in real time. So here's the one thing the smartest people in the room never do. They don't rush to prove they're right in every moment. Because they understand something most people never realize. Being right is temporary, but understanding is power. And once you make that shift internally, everything about your presence begins to change naturally. Most people will keep chasing validation through correction, and they'll stay stuck at the same level of thinking. But if you felt something click while listening to this, then you're already stepping into a different level of awareness. And people who reach that level don't need to prove it, because it shows in how they move, speak, and think. Most people won't apply this because it requires control, patience, and a strong sense of identity without constant validation. But if you do apply it consistently, you won't just sound smarter, you'll actually become harder to ignore in any room. And if you're someone who prefers understanding over showing off, then you already know what to do next.